using my proposed title, Determinants of Information, Communication and Technology, ICT Skills Among Youths in Nigeria. Looking at the problem statements, youths cannot maximize their full potential in a highly competitive world without being marginalized if they lack competence with the use of ICT. And despite the fact that a lot of intervention has been done by the government and various stakeholders, they are still find out that youths in Nigeria and other developing countries are lagging behind, looking at the global perspective. So actually there are pockets of things that have been done in the states, some few states, as a form of intervention. But generally speaking too, there are things that government is doing, especially for the secondary school students, to make sure that they come up in this respect. But I want to find out why we are still where we are. So the justification for this, just like I said, the pocket of studies that have been reported were mainly a form of evaluation, looking at the interventions that have been carried out and how much more progress that have been made in some few states, especially in the South. Some of them are more inclined towards ICT, and it's actually reflected in their data, looking at states like Anambra, Enugu, and so on. They're on the high side, looking at the data from the MICS. Findings from such studies, however, could not be generalized to the whole country. Hence, the need for us to have an analysis of the national survey data to determine the level of youth involvement in ICT and the possible factors that predict such involvement. My objectives are two: to determine the proportion of youths that use ICT. Actually, this by gender that I put, I was actually thinking of looking at it in terms of bridging the gender. But I'll probably remove this. While I look at the result pattern, I will know whether there is statistically significant disparities in the gender or not. But actually, a lot of studies are reported worldwide that there is a gap that needs to be bridged between the male and the female youths when it comes to ICT. So the second objective is to determine the factors that influence ICT use among youths. My data source will be from the multiple indicator cluster survey, because when I looked through the NDHS, which I'm much more familiar with, I discovered that there is nothing on ICT at all. So looking at the report of the MICS, I discovered that there were some tables that speak to that, but I don't have access to the data yet. I just applied for it yesterday. I hope I will have it so that I'll be able to see the pattern and how comprehensive even the data there is for this. So looking at that, so essentially I'll be using that data. So I hope I'll be able to get enough things to work with. Then my dependent variable will be the use of ICT or non-use. So the respondents will be categorized into two. The youths will be categorized into whether they are using or not. Then the independent variable now will not be mainly the social demographic factors. I'll be interested in the gender. I'll be interested in the influence of the education, especially because youths that are in school, they are likely from the report because they are likely to be exposed to some of these things and the facility. So I want to see the influence of the education, the region, and other things, possibly religion and other factors that may influence the use or non-use of ICT. So essentially that's what I have for now. So I hope if this is good enough, then I'll be able to look at it further. Thank you very much. Sir?
I did not see a slide for good enough.
All right, we would like to welcome, as much as she's presented, comments from colleagues to begin with. Comments?
Okay, I should.
All right.
Okay. Is it this?
Comments from colleagues. I notice colleagues are not asking because they are probably trying to sort themselves. All right, so we'll because I just keep seeing faces on the laptop, so it's like all right, no questions from colleagues. All right, let me
ask questions. If you ask questions. You know, when the secret to this thing, I think, is the more you expose yourself, you write so much, the more people will be able to pick, oh, what about this, what about that. But if what you have produced is very concise, it's a bit difficult. That's why we're able to talk for who's our business that.
But it's better so that you get to, when you're moving forward, you start speaking on what you're doing. It's better to have a clear idea of where we're going from here. Well, to me, I would just say, I think there's still some little clarification to do. For instance, something which you're trying to be looking at technology skill as ICT skill as a dependent variable from your title. But going into the main presentation, it became ICT use.
Okay.
So, which I think we need to fine-tune. I don't think they will mean the same thing.
Okay, eventually. Okay.
Then, you go to the next slide.
Okay.
I think the next slide, or the one after, is where you talk about the next one. Yes, the justification. I always look forward to when you see pockets of studies, some findings from area research and things like that. And we should have at least one more citation.
Okay.
At least two.
I know it.
When you say pockets of studies.
I know. So like 3, 4.
That can be one study.
I'll add to that.
So that because it's actually what is giving justification to this work. That okay, we cannot generalize what has been done and all that. Then I wish we have something more on your method, the method you wish to use, so that we can actually know where you are heading towards. But by and large, the variables, I think it shouldn't be those that dependent variables shouldn't be those that use ICT skill 0 or those that don't use 1. Your variable is a single construct. ICT use, ICT skills. The levels are now at other things that are under it. I mean, the dependent variable is not 2 as you splitted it. It shouldn't be 2. It should be one construct. Then we can explain the things that are under it separately, but it shouldn't be construct. And also the independent variables. I think we shouldn't have ETC in this, except if we are, I don't know, I feel we should be clear about what we want to do. Which are the what are the things you are taking, what are you not taking? If you have ETC, it makes it endless. Those are the things I have solved from here. Maybe when we have more methods, we can comment for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, just a quick one. Folks are speaking, I've spoken to some of my concerns.
Okay.
Precisely the issue of skill. What struck me in your title is how are you going to measure skill from mates? But because you said you've not really interacted very
with the
well,
data, yes.
Because what you're likely to see is the use or no use or something like that.
Okay.
I'm not sure that you're likely to see. So you may still come back to fine-tune your title at the end of the day. And
based on the information inside
the information that you get.
Okay.
And I think that's also why we have some issues with how far we can go on this. Probably while you're writing ETC because you've not explored. It's important we do that because that is what we will even give back to the things you are going to do going forward. So we'll wait till then. We'll see how. I think the last day, the entire day on the last day is to fine-tune and the departure. I mean, the departure and things like that. So just a few things. Prof, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Can we go back to the topic?
Okay, sorry.
It looks to me like something that is common. However, the way you capture it makes it a little bit different from some other things.
Okay.
Especially in education, you find them writing ICT skills in introduction of computer studies and incidents, ICT skills in different pockets of subjects like that. But what I think we want to do here is basically to focus on roots. My little worry is the word skill and the word use.
Okay.
Take for example, the fact that I know how to use something doesn't make me skillful in that thing.
Okay.
Again, I'm going to use my mother in the village. If I call her, she will pick her phone. Okay?
Use.
Does that make her skilled? Or how do we really measure skill? So by the time you interact with the data, we may not really get the variable skill. But maybe there are other variables that we can pull together and then generate the word skill there.
Okay, sir.
And then probably in the body of your word, you may want to say you are using skill and use. Synonymously and things like that.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Secondly, I would have preferred that you integrate gender. I wrote somewhere here, gender differential.
Okay.
Determinants of information, ICT skills and use. This will help us to know immediately, and number one, we're doing a comparative study between male and female youths. Okay? And then we'll be able to talk about what makes male to be more, or what makes female to be more, or maybe there is no significant difference in the acquisition of skills when it comes to ICT. Can we go to the slide housing objectives? So the first objective, if you are going by the way of gender differential.
Yes, sir.
It's still okay.
Yes, sir.
Because we just want to know the proportion and all that. But that shouldn't be a main objective. Okay?
Okay, sir.
But then, of course, because we said not any objectives, to determine factors that determines
Identify factors
among youths in Nigeria. One other thing I want fellows to take note of is consistency in the use of your words. Okay, ICT use, ICT skill.
Okay.
Until we're able to determine whether they are different.
Okay.
Or we're using them interchangeably.
Okay. We should slash them.
Can we go back to your the thing on the topic? This is actually from literature, which is good. But the problem is not actually telling us the gap that the study plans to fill.
Okay.
And the idea, like we said yesterday, that by the time you look for gaps, the moment you notice that somebody has done something about that gap, you drop it and look for another gap to incorporate. So, by the time you interact more with the data as well as literature,
yes, sir.
you'll be able to come up with more gap that will inform or change, that will stimulate your, that will also to go the way of critical thinking on what should be my
problem
next objective and all that. So for now, you're doing well. I just need another word to make this work. A bit different from maybe Google your topic, you will find similar things that have been done. But like I said, in the area of computer, in the area of all of that. But I don't know what is in your mind when you talk about communication, information, and technology. Are you thinking of this cell phone?
Not really, because I am thinking beyond that, looking at the proportion. I think the current data even says about 89% have access to either the cell phone or any sort of device. So if we go by that, we are going to have a very high proportion using ICT. But I don't think that is what, from the table I saw, I think possibly maybe they looked at a way of bringing together some variable to now reclassify people into using and not using. Because there were a lot of questions that were asked about the gadget, about the internet access, about uploading files, doing some technical things. But I don't know so much I'll find when I get the data sets. So.
Let's go to classification.
Okay.
From this classification, what actually is the last paragraph? What actually is involved?
From the, okay.
Not as a country as a whole.
Actually, when I looked at this, the few literature that I saw, from just the way you said it, some of them looked at ICT, entrepreneurship, ICT, agriculture, ICT, and some other particular fields. So they were trying to look at how has that helped them, maybe in their businesses, in their pursuit and whatever. So the few studies I saw were in line with that. But the ones that were a little bit more generalized, they were based on some intervention by some states. They put some things in place and they try to measure the effect over time. So I feel that's on its own, it's a good one if we intervene and we are seeing results. But if we base our judgment on that, the country as a whole may be lagging behind. So if we look at it holistically, how much do we have? How well our people are doing, it will make us to say this is where we are, this is how much we need to do.
So you are thinking of MI?
CS.
What's MICS? Multiple?
Indicator cluster survey.
Mix. Oh, okay, I think you should just go through the data and let's see what comes.
Okay. All right, sir.
And then you can come back to the topic again.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everybody.
The next fellow. The attendant. The list. It's all right. I'm following the list. Because the second Adeoye was not the one on the list.
Next A. The next A is already covered.
It's left.
I thought we were using surname.
It's sunny.
The next A.
Okay.
BGA new. Share the computer.
Display card. So please, man.
Okay, sir. This is not modern. I'm a
Oh, this is not the other way around.
How is it complicated now?
It's a common
problem.
the problem related to what? That's now we're doing.
She has display port, but display port is not common.
Okay, only
full
let's use. Can you copy it out? Let's use another. Please.